Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you for stopping by. My name is Cami, and today I'm going to show you guys how to do an ombre. So a couple of days ago, I posted in the Facebook groups a set of 6. It was for a bridal party. There was 5 2-color ombres, and then the last one, the one for the bride, was actually a 6-color ombre. So after posting them to the Facebook groups and my TikTok and things like that, it garnered a lot of attention, and people started asking if I would pretty please do a tutorial on it, and of course I will. So I know that there's a lot of tutorials out there on how to do ombres, and everyone is probably a little different. I learned probably where a lot of people have learned, from Jessica Flynn. Being a nail tech, like color fades on nails was my serious passion and love, and so when I first got into tumblers, I knew I had to do the best that I could to perfect that craft on a tumbler as well. So I worked really hard, and I think it paid off because they come out pretty well. And so if you are here because you've asked for this, or if you're just stumbling across this and you are here for an ombre tutorial, let's get started. Alrighty, so we're going to start with a completely sanded and washed cup, and then I spray painted a 3-color ombre here, starting with Gold Plate by Rust-Oleum at the top, and then I went into that middle section with Real Orange. It's part of the 2x Rust-Oleum line, and then I finished at the bottom with Claret Wine, which is also part of that 2x Rust-Oleum line. And then I mixed up this really pretty color using 3 of Grateful Glitters, Thin Red Line, which is a holographic, and then Dr. Sparky, which I did about half and half of those, and then it wasn't quite dark enough for what I was going for, so I did put in a little bit of this Starry Night, which is also a holographic. And then for the middle, I used Pretty Penny, which is a beautiful, orangey coppery color. Oh my gosh, I love this color, y'all. And then I did a half and half mixture of Dorado and Pyrite. The Dorado was a little too yellowy for me, and the Pyrite didn't have that holographic component that I was looking for, so I mixed the 2 of them together and made my own. And then we're gonna start off with just a super tiny amount of epoxy. I did mix up 5 milliliters, the least amount my little cup will do. And I'm just doing a super thin coat. We're probably gonna use less than 1 milliliter here. I did warm up my cup in front of a space heater before applying this epoxy. It just helps the epoxy to be able to smooth on really easy. So you're just going to continue around and smooth it, making sure you get every part of this cup, because we're going to use the epoxy method for glitter adhesion, so you want to make sure you do get every part. And then you also want to make sure that you have no lines in your final epoxy layering. If you're struggling with this, I would definitely recommend setting it off on a drying rack for maybe 5 minutes or so to help smooth out those lines. It'll help because you don't want those to show through in your final glitter. So then I start with that 50-50 mixture of that kind of gold champagne color, and I'm going about 1 inch around the rim here. I want to make sure I get a really solid coverage here. And the reason for that is when I'm ombreing my darker colors up into this direction, I don't want this top rim to grab any of those darker colors and wind up ruining my pure gold champagne color here. So then I'm going to tip my cup down and raise my arm a little ways away from the cup, and you guys, I'm just barely sprinkling any on here. I don't want a whole gob of glitter yet, because I want to make sure that there's still a little bit of wet epoxy underneath where those colors will meet, so that I can blend some up and blend some down. That's kind of how I get that really good ombre. And I tap each color off here, and you can see kind of where that solid dry patches at the top rim there, as opposed to a little bit lighter down into the orange. So then I'm aiming for right in the center of the orange here, going both ways with this glitter. So I'm first gonna angle it down, and again, just a tiny amount, and we're sprinkling, letting it kind of cascade up into that kind of gold champagne color. But we're gonna have the heaviest coverage right in the center here. So you just go around and barely tapping. I mean, I can't even explain how little of glitter I'm actually getting out of the bottle right now. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tip the other way and do the exact same thing again, aiming at that center and letting the rest kind of fall down into where the burgundy maroon color is going to be. So going around, not really more to be said here, so I'll just let it kind of play out. And then just like before, we're gonna tap off any excess, and I'm hoping the camera's picking this up to where you can see that that middle of the orange is much more opaque with glitter than up into the gold or even down into the burgundy. So starting at the very bottom, I'm gonna make sure, just like at the very top rim where I got really solid coverage, I want really solid coverage on my bottom, and I want really solid coverage around that first inch of the bottom there. Same reason I don't want, when I'm going back and forth between my colors, to wind up getting those lighter colors down into that bottom 1 inch of that cup, because I want that to be that pure burgundy that we've mixed up. So just gonna go around a few times and make sure I've got solid coverage, and then just like at the top, I'm going to angle my cup up and come up just a little bit from the cup so it has that room to kind of fall and that wind to kind of carry it away. No, just carrying it down into the orange. Again, you don't want a ton. We're doing a little bit here so that those colors can gradually, slowly blend. We're gonna go back and forth between these colors here. And it does take a little extra time to do it this way as opposed to some of the other ways I've seen ombre. But I don't know that you can get a seriously 100% blended color without it. So as you can see here, that bottom is super opaque with glitter, and then it kind of lightens up between that burgundy and that orange, and then again right in the center, that's super solid there, and then moving up into that gold. See how all three of these areas are like way more opaque than in between each color. That's what you're looking for at this stage. So then you're going to, just like before, I'm going to kind of speed this up a little bit because it's kind of the same thing, but I go around that top rim again just to make sure that I don't have any wet spots there that need to be glittered, and then I just kind of, maybe not quite as careful as that first pass, but again, just a little bit at a time. We're going slow and steady definitely wins the race here, y'all. So I'm moving down from aiming at that very top rim just barely into that orange so I can get a little bit further down into that orange section, and just sprinkling a little bit at a time. Gonna tap it off, get any of that excess off, and then same thing with the orange here. We're going to, aiming again for the middle here, sprinkling it up into that champagne area, and then we're gonna tilt the cup the other way. Again, not as careful as the first pass here. We can let just a little bit more flow, but not a ton more. We're still trying to get that gradual fade. And same the other way. I'm still aiming at that middle and letting the rest of that glitter cascade down. And I know some people might not go over it again, but I do go over my bottom and that bottom rim again just to make sure that I 100% have a solid coverage here. I don't want any of that gold or orange down into this bottom 1 inch. And now for the final layer. I go around and I'm not being as careful here. I'm just kind of letting it cascade down into the other colors. And I don't know if you guys can tell or not, if I've definitely got it going at a pretty good angle. And then I even more so angle it so that we can get a little bit further up into that champagne color, and then tip it down to where we can get it a little more into that burgundy color. Again, just trying to make that seam as flawless as possible. We don't want to see any distinguishing marks between any of these colors. That's, in my opinion, that's kind of the definition of a perfect ombre, is when you cannot see where one color starts and the other one ends. You want those to blend seamlessly. There's no distinguishing lines. So then at the end, I take the lightest color, and you don't always get to do this depending on what colors you're blending together, but we've got so much coverage of the other ones that this last like heavy coat of light glitter is kind of just going to meld all of the colors together. It kind of unifies all three colors because they all have one thing in common, and that's a little bit of that top color. So it just helps with that seamless blending of these. So then after I do this, I let this coat cure for 3 hours, and then I go in and spray 2 coats of Rust-Oleum 2x clear, letting it dry completely in between each coat, and then I go in with 2 coats of epoxy, and I'll put a video up here showing you guys how I do my epoxy. But then I'm using this leaf glitter from Grateful Glitters. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It has gold and burgundy and orange, but I know my hand is kind of out of shot up above. I'm so sorry, you guys. But I'm just kind of gradually sprinkling on. And remember, like, leaves fall randomly, so you don't want them like perfectly spaced apart or anything like that. Just kind of a little bit all the way up and down the cup. And then I take my weeding tool and I go through, and any that are like touching, or like sometimes the glitters kind of stick together as you're putting them down, I'll pull it off and I'll separate them and just kind of lay those glitters back on there in more of a kind of spread out random fashion. I don't know, maybe I'm a little OCD. It just makes it look better to me. Then after I'm done fussing around with these leaves, I let it spin for 8 hours and cure. And then I'm going to go ahead and take it out in my husband's shop, and forgive the mess here, y'all. He's in the middle of building a brand new shop. So I'm holding it maybe like a foot back or something like that. You can test it on like a piece of paper or a piece of wood or something like that and kind of get how your spray pattern goes. But I just give a couple little tiny bursts of spray so that it kind of feathers out at the end. This is kind of one of those bleach spot methods. And then I've taken and done up this design in Silhouette Studio, printed it on clear Waterslide, and sealed 3 pretty solid coats with a clear gloss spray. Let them dry completely in between, and then just doing like you normally would for a water slide. And I'm going to be doing a video on how to do water slides here pretty soon, so stay tuned. So I just wet down my cup and get it ready. I have mirrored this image, and I learned that from Courtney's Customs. She, I think, was the one that came up with this, so I'll put a link to her channel in my description. Amazing channel, check it out, you guys. You just flip it over, put it on. You don't have to worry about your image wrinkling or buckling or anything like that, and you just kind of guide it where you want it to be, squeegee it out, set it and forget it. It is phenomenal. So I dry it a little bit around, and then I let this completely dry for like a half hour, maybe an hour. And then I come in with a super thin coat of polyacrylic to make sure that it's completely sealed, like all the edges are sealed, so we don't have any lifting while the epoxy is curing or anything like that. I let this dry for about a half an hour, and then I go straight into my first coat, or my last coat of epoxy. And I linked the video already in this video of how I do my epoxy and why, but I have found if I take my time here and really make sure that I'm pushing out all the bubbles, taking my time gradually working down the cup, that I don't have anything to worry about. Like, I don't use a big hot torch or anything like that. I just use a little kitchen torch to pop the bubbles, and I don't have any micro bubbles on any of my vinyl or water slides or around the bottom where it likes to hide out. I just, I love, love, love doing it this way. And I'm using Artistry epoxy, just their normal epoxy, not their fast set. It's an amazing epoxy that has no VOCs, and you really don't have to worry about anything with this. It comes out with a crystal clear finish every single time. I like that it's made in America as well. Amazing people run that company. I then let it roll for about 5 minutes, letting it self-level and bubbles come to the top, and then I just go over it a couple of times with a kitchen torch, and there you have it. It is all finished. So pretty. I love the way it turned out. I know I say that every video, but really I do. Fall is my favorite color. But that's all I got for today, guys. If you have enjoyed this video or got value out of this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. And please share this with your friends if you know anybody that's looking for some fall designs. And if you have any suggestions or questions, leave them down in the comment section for me. And thank you guys so very much for watching. Have a great day.